Hey guys, in this video we are very practically talking about some of the most necessary tools and products that you need for winter detailing, and in this video I am doing a winter detail on this really disgusting farm muddy truck. So the first tool and the first and foremost thing we obviously need to talk about is our water supply, and this is where the pressure washer comes in. And I get the question all the time, do I need a pressure washer? Do I not need a pressure washer? Is it more hassle than it's worth? Does it really do that much? And absolutely, this is something to consider all around seasons in detailing, but particularly in the wintertime, simply because it allows me to touch things less. What I mean is I can do less scrubbing. I can do less hands-on getting my hands wet. The pressure washer provides so much pressure, obviously PSI, that I can knock a bunch of dirt off without having to actually touch things or scrub things or get my hands wet. And for that reason, the pressure washer makes too much sense to have with a winter auto detailing approach. Here, obviously, you guys see the main use I'm really using it for is not just the bed, but also the tires, wheels, and wheel wells. Not just because of the mud, but also, of course, because it's very cold outside. And though I actually change into shorts halfway through this detail because the sun comes out and it gets a little bit warmer, it is very, very cold outside here nonetheless. But a pressure washer, particularly this is the Sunjo electric pressure washer. It's got about 2,000 PSI, probably more like 1,800 at the end of the day. And this ends up being a really fantastic pressure washer to use. I believe it's $100 on Amazon, and it's extremely, extremely affordable. Now, of course, all of the products and tools that I'm talking about in this video are going to be linked up in the YouTube description box below. And make sure that when you go in the YouTube description box below this video to grab my free guide to starting your auto detailing business for under $500, because in that guide, you're going to see my top 10 list of fundamental tools and products that you must have to start your detailing business. Now, outside of that, you can see I'm switching to my pump sprayer here. I believe I've got a super clean dilution ratio of about 5:1. And that pump sprayer is going to be absolutely essential in the wintertime, particularly when I'm having to spray a bunch of products because I'm not wearing my arms out, wearing out my forearms. I can just click down that little trigger, make sure there's enough pressure in the bottle, and I can spray a continuous stream of chemical for a very long time. Now you see here, I'm scrubbing the sidewall of the tire with nothing more than my drill brushes, which of course brings me to my third product here. In addition to the pump sprayer, in addition to the electric pressure washer, I am going to be using my drill brushes. Those are going to be absolutely essential in my winter detailing, again, simply because it allows me to get results quickly. I'm not trying to stay outside any longer than I really have to, and because of that, the drill brushes make all too much sense. Now, I do want to bring up a product or a tool in this moment here that's not in this video, but that does serve a absolutely essential purpose for winter detailing, and that is the all too underwhelming steamer. The steam cleaner is something that's not only just so practical to have on so many different levels, but it is also something that keeps you warm. Now, this is particularly true for interior detailing in the wintertime, though I will talk about in just a second how you can actually use the steamer on the exterior of the vehicle if you need to. But again, it makes all too much sense, particularly in the wintertime where your hands get freezing cold with interior details, to use a steamer, because as I use the steamer, not only am I getting incredible results and not having to use as much chemical and getting things done really quickly and efficiently, but it keeps me warm, and in a very practical sense, it just makes sense. There's absolutely no reason not to have it. In fact, if I had to boil this whole video down to two major tools and talk about nothing else, the two things I would be talking about is, number one, the electric pressure washer, and number two, the steamer. Now, professionally, I use a steamer called the VX5000, but that is about a $900 steamer, and it's a little outside of some people's price range, though I will link it up in the YouTube description box nonetheless. The Mcculloch Steamers that you find on Amazon, it's McCulloch. Again, I will hook it up in the YouTube description box, but these are some of the favorite steamers of auto detailers, and so you can see those for a much lower price. It sits around $200, the one that I suggest at least. The electric pressure washer and the steamer make all too much sense for the auto detailing industry in the wintertime for all the reasons I just said. But in addition to interior detailing, the steamer can actually be used on the exterior, and I want to explain the position I would actually be in when that would be necessary. Many times when you're dealing with maintenance clients or you're dealing with vehicles that are not quite as dirty as this truck, they're not muddy, they're not used on a farm, they just have very, very light dirt and dust on the exterior. A rinseless wash combined with a steamer is not only an amazing way to keep your hands warm when it's cold outside, it is an amazing way to get that surface dirt and dust off in a very efficient way, in a very safe way, and in a very warm way. Essentially, what I would do is simply use my Gary Dean method with 5 to 6 microfiber towels soaked in an optimum no-rinse solution. I would use each side of those microfibers, each one new on a new panel, just like we've talked about in many different videos. And as I am pulling the microfiber towel across the paint and cleaning at the highest level that I can, I'm going to be using my steamer to add not only more lubrication, but also heat and pushing around that dirt before I even get my microfiber to it. Essentially, in some ways, it mimics the logic of the 2-bucket wash method in that before I am actually pulling my microfiber across the surface dirt, I am loosening it and pulling it up, making it a bit easier to pull off with my steamer, not just because of the liquid that's being introduced, but also because of the heat that is being introduced as well. Now, this next tool is going to sound really weird and funny, but let me explain it in a little bit greater detail because it is one of those sort of hidden tools that I don't necessarily show in this video, but nonetheless, it was used in this video because my hands were freezing. An electric kettle water heater is something that is so easy, so inexpensive, so simple to use when you're detailing, much like the steamer when it keeps your hands warm. When it's freezing outside 30 degrees in Middle Tennessee like it was in this video before the sun came out, my hands were absolutely frozen, and it only gets worse. They get dry, they get cracked when I'm dipping them in a bucket of cold water. Because of that, I can actually use a really simple electric water kettle, heat up water to a boiling point, and I can fill up most of the bucket with just hose water and pour that boiling water into that cold water to create really just a bit of a more lukewarm solution that ends up lasting as long as I need it to while I'm outside washing the car physically. Extremely, extremely simple to do, and it keeps my hands very, very warm at the same time. Now, in addition to that, another reason why warm water comes in handy, not just for comfort reasons, but also, like you see in this video, I'm clay barring the vehicle before I take a polisher to it where I'm going to apply the sealant/wax. The reason that the clay bar is much easier to work with in this particular video is because I was using warm water to spray my lubricant, because when a clay bar gets really cold, it gets really hard, and it's very difficult to work in the paint, and you're going to want some warm water to make that clay a little bit more malleable as you work around the truck. It can be very frustrating and damage the truck at a certain level because the clay bar, when cold, can kind of be like a rock. And if you're not careful and you kind of slam it against the paint, you do risk damaging that paint in that area. So I want to make sure it's soft, kind of like putty that you can play with more or less. Now, in addition to that, I want to make sure that I have my DA polisher in the wintertime because you guys may have noticed rarely do I apply sealants or waxes with a polisher, but in the wintertime I do simply because it allows my hands to move less. What I mean is my fingers get to move less. I can simply let the machine do the work, and I don't have to be using my hands and wiping things on and off, on and off, on and off. It's a very simple application, and because I'm not polishing, I'm simply using it to apply. It's very, very quick. It also helps a bit of curing to the paint. Guys, with that being said, make sure to go below in the YouTube description box to check out everything used in this video. Grab my free guide to starting your auto detailing business for under $500 in that exact same place. If you're not yet subscribed to the Wilson Auto Detailing community, but you love information and business stuff like this, hit the subscribe button. And as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
Yeah.